MidtownFiber podcast. This is episode 3. My name is Eileen, and you can find me on Instagram at MidtownFiber. I am on Ravelry, but I still can't remember my name. I'll put it in the description box maybe. I am not, that's not a main way of communicating for me because I'm rarely on there. I really want to get better though, at least at logging my projects. So anyway, if you've never been here before, welcome. And if you're returning, thank you for coming back. I have focused this podcast, and my hope for it in the future is to focus it on knitting, a little bit of spinning and weaving here and there, and sort of a journey I've been taking towards self-care and mental health. So I was thinking about, the word sanity, because we all needed some over this, or at least I needed some over this holiday season. Insanity is just it's such an important piece of our everyday that we don't think of. And I think you could define sanity a ton of different ways, but I just mean mental health and balance and intention and all those things that you hear people kind of dream of focusing on, but life gets in the way. So this podcast is just gonna try and bring what brings me sanity, which is fiber art, and my journey towards sort of mental health and intentional living. And hopefully you find that this is something you're interested in. I will start off the podcast today with some talk about sort of my whips. I have no finished objects. No finished objects today. But I did want to focus on the knitting first, and then I'll talk maybe a chit chat and then sit and knit or something like that after, so that those folks who just are here for the knitting can kind of tune out. And then other folks, if you want to stay, you're welcome. I'll just be here blabbering on the universe. It's so weird having a podcast. Well, I hope everybody had a healthy and safe and happy season. Not everybody celebrates the holidays, and some people choose not to celebrate intentionally, and I see you. It's so hard. Holidays are a struggle for me, but we'll talk more at the end about that. There's some joy on this one, but also some real struggle. So as we start a new year, I think at least most people can get on board with the fact that the new year holds potential. So even if you have a complicated relationship with the end of year holiday season, hopefully we can all get on board with the joy that a new year can bring. I'm going to focus on that because my whole focus is about finding joy and intention in life. So today I'm going to start off with what I've been working on. So actually I'll do what I'm wearing first. Sorry. I'll get this better as I get better at this. So this was my first sweater. It's kind of an interesting situation happening. This is the flax sweater by, I think it's Tin Can Knits. And I'm wearing something under it because this is a little wide for me, even though I kind of have my swimmer shoulders. I made this 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. And I think I made it out of, it might be like acrylic or some combo platter of that shepherd's wool from Lion Brand that's really good. But it feels more acrylic-y, so I think I might have ended up going with an acrylic because it's sweaty. Do you know those? That's not wool, right? That's like super acrylic, and acrylic is awesome. I am not on the hating acrylic train because I think acrylic can be adorable and awesome and everything, but I don't like to wear acrylic because it's like that dreaded word, moist. It's like that, like a sauna, right? That's how this feels. So I might have a wardrobe change because it's just, but I wanted to show y'all lots of like new to me kind of construction and shaping and stuff that was sort of a challenge at the time. And I really do like it. I am tall, and I made it for tall girls, which I love. See, if you can see all this. Um, and sorry, I just thought I saw a squirrel on our porch. That's a drama. I'll put some footage in of the squirrel that found its way onto our porch. I digress. So I loved making this. I think I'll probably make one out of something that's 100% wool, or just more wearable. And wearable to me includes the toothy woolly fibers. I actually do enjoy those. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I, as part of finding joy, am trying to try everything and appreciate new things. So that'll be a focus this year of like trying things I normally wouldn't, to see whether I like them or not. I don't know if anybody else is the same way. I really tend to set things in my head, and then I don't even know where it came from, but I just don't like a thing. I don't like wearing acrylic though. It's for real a thing. It's just moist. Oh god. So okay, this is what I was wearing. So over the holiday season, my husband was on call for the week of Christmas, so we didn't see him a ton. And he had to go in a lot late at night. Like, I feel like there were a couple emergent surgeries, like the 2 a.m. time frame. And then he was just working the whole day. And then he was trying to prep for, I mean, like, Christmas shouldn't be like this, but it is. Yeah, healthcare workers, God bless you. I used to be a nurse. Before I became actually I was an epidemiologist first, then I went to nursing school, then I combined them in public health. But I did nursing in the hospital for a short stint, and I did not enjoy it. It is really hard though to work over the holidays. So God bless, or entity above, bless, or thank the entities. I don't even know how to say that because I respect everybody's belief systems, or lack thereof. Also respect that. I think it's hard on the families too. I'll just put it. I mean, when your parents are gone, or one of them's just like popping in and out and can't really be there, it's hard on the families. When the kids were little, especially. But now my son just turned 10 and my daughter's 13, so we just kind of hung out. So I had a lot of knitting time. All of that to say, I had a lot of knitting time. And I focused on working on the sweater, and I'm trying to remember if I'd even cast it on before of my last podcast. I think I was just winding the Nutiden. So I have been working on the Winter's Pullover by Ozetta, and so jazzed. I love it. So first time working with Nutiden. If you're not familiar with Nutiden, it is unspun wool. And it does not feel prickly to me. I think it's slightly prickly to, like, if you are sensitive, um, maybe you want to make a sweater that doesn't have anything here if that's your most sensitive area. I'm not sure I would make like, I'm okay with this. I could feel how some people, if you're used to like a super wash or something really round and bouncy, you might be like, ooh, but maybe try it. I mean, not sponsored. I really just, I love how it works up and the learning curve to doing that. So Nutiden comes like this. By the way, I got a new webcam. Actually, I didn't get a new webcam. I found an old webcam from my epidemiology days. And so I just popped it on, and I hope it's better quality. So Nutiden comes like this, and what you get, let's see if I can find an open one. What you get are these big plates. They call them plates. And the wool comes off. It is actually just one thin strand of unspun wool. Unspun meaning that it just does this if you pull it. It may not be your cup of tea if you are quick to anger and rage. But maybe it's a good learning if you are quick to anger and rage, that you learn some patience, and maybe that's part of the intention. I don't know. I have learned a lot of patience through parenthood, and being an epidemiologist. But it broke me in the end, so maybe I didn't learn patience. But for doing this, I loved it, and I am right now. Let me show you where I am. I decided for those cakes, I wound 3 strands together into balls so that I could actually work with this a bit easier. So what I did was I took footage of this last time. I had 2 of these cakes sitting side by side and then just took one off of each and wound it into a ball. And then I had a third cake next to me. So I had a double wound and then another cake. And then I would just knit with them together. Because I was too lazy to go get a third cake. I don't know why I did that. But here is a ball that I wound up with 3 strands, so I can knit straight off of it now. I have used, these are my last 2 plates plus this. So here's hoping. I'm real bad with spatial relationships and volume, so I hope my husband is really good at that, as one would hope in your colorectal surgeon. So he's telling me that this will work, that like I have enough. So I'm going to go with that. And please tell me your thoughts on this. I can't be the only one who's just like developmentally never gotten that, never figured that out. I mean, I also couldn't cut a straight line in 3rd grade. And my mom tells me the school wanted to hold me back for that. And she was going to lose her mind, I guess. So go, Mom. Sorry, something just popped up there. So, okay. Back to the Ozetta pullover. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you can see all this. I knitted up. Construction's interesting. Oh, what's happening here with the light? So I have like one of those weird light sources behind the computer here, hoping to get better lighting. But what I'm learning is, I don't know about that. But you can't see the color well, but you can definitely see the stitches. So the way that this is, it's a paid pattern, so I'm not going to give away all the secrets, but it's an interesting, like, you basically knit up a flat until you reach here, and then you just connect in the round to do the body. Now, I stopped mine real short because, again, unsure about the spatial relationship, volume, length of fiber, whatever. I wanted to make sure I had enough for the sleeves, and then I'll like finish it all off and make it as long as I want if I have extra. This is just like sort of my workaround for not understanding these things well, put it that way. So hold please. Okay, sorry. My husband has my kids off at a climbing wall, and one was being particularly joyful. Okay, so I've knit all that. So what I have left, I'm starting the ribbing on the sleeve here. I have my bottom part on my barber cords, which I love. Who doesn't love them? Maybe you don't. If you don't love them, tell me. Tell me why you don't love them. Curious. But open to that, because I can understand like a regular string of yarn works just as well, I guess. That's just, I find it's easier to get it pulled through on your cord, on your knitting needle. You just pull it through. It's great. And then I'm just going to do the other sleeve. So those will be sort of what I'm working on here. And then the collar, you pick up and knit the collar, and I don't know what kind of collar I'm going to knit here, but I do love the amount of short rows because as a tall girl with swimmer shoulders, I'm 6 feet tall, but I also sort of have, I don't know that they're necessarily broad, but they are just sort of, I mean, they're not these tiny little slope shoulders of the wee ones. I wish I had those. And I'll put it this way. I used to wish that I was built differently than I am. I am now 41, and I am built the way I am, and I kind of love it now because it's just me. Nobody else is like me, and that's cool. So I have this to work up. I think I'm going to do the winter's pullover. I'll put wherever I'm going to put a picture, maybe over my thermostat. A picture of the winter's pullover. The collar's like up here. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I've never been like a close to neck kind of sweater person, but maybe I will be, just because this is like all over, just like so squishy and delightful and sturdy and like everything that you want when you're freezing. Maybe even when you're not. So that's what I've been working on, and I hope to have that done in the next week, maybe week. So I've been working on that. I also have put in some time on I'll put a picture in here of the half and half triangles wrap. I am using the linen Quill, and I started it with whatever the light gray. Why can't I remember that? I don't remember the name of the color, but I'll put a picture here and details down below. I've made some progress. I'm still on the first ball though, because y'all, this is like a forever project, and I'm okay with that. It is the most comforting knit. If you're a person who likes garter with a little interest. And it's a free pattern from Purl Soho. It's called the half and half triangles wrap. So I'm not going to give anything away by telling you about it. Essentially, you are knitting both rows, and on one side of this, you are doing, I think it calls for wrap and turns, which I have a special hatred for. So I did German short rows. I do German short rows on one side, and this is where that triangle piece is coming, right? And then on the other side, you're just, it's a regular knitting situation. I have done as like, jump on the bandwagon of everybody else on these podcasts. I have done the I-cord on the other side, on the straight side, so that it's a little bit more of a finished look. Just so you can see that little bit there. And it goes sort of, across. You see it. I do have my ends. I'm just going to weave those in at the end. I'm not sure what happened there because my yarn shouldn't have broken, but I think it did. And I can't remember why. Was it a dog? It could have been a dog. Dogs are doing well. More footage at the end. Because who doesn't love dogs? And if you don't love dogs, I don't even know how that's possible, but I have dogs and they are cute. Lester and Mabel. So I will share more at the end about them during our sit and knit too. So I've been working on that. I'm going to take a sip of my tea. Do you guys do this too? So this is just like a David's tea double-walled mug. I have taken to combining tea bag flavors for funsies. Creativity. I just combined the Tulsi Sweet Rose from Organic India with, I lost my tea bag string on the other one. And yes, I leave my tea bags in forever, and I'm okay with that. Don't hate me for that. And then the refreshment from Tazo, and with a little honey. Rose and mint together. Okay. So I haven't been working on my Lumi socks, picture here, by Fiber Tales. I finished one of them, and I had to start the other one. So I'm going to do that. I haven't been working on that. I just haven't picked it up, but I need to because I would love to wear them. They're so cozy. I will share a tragedy that occurred at our house. I don't think I shared it last time. I had a green Oslo hat I had made my daughter. I love the Oslo hats. I have a yellow one. I've shown it on before. And it got, this is like what we would say in the ICU when something came out. The tube came out, right? It somehow fell out. The hat got put in a coat pocket that was in the wash. And it was made out of 100% wool. Quince and Company Phoebe. This was what I used to make her hat for her. It is felted. It's a goner. R.I.P. Oslo hat. So now she has me making her another one. I haven't started yet, but in my head it's on the list, right? It's on the list of things to do. So I'm going to do that. And now my husband would like an Oslo hat, and he has decided on this amazing color. So my husband, oh, this is not going to show very well. Let's see. It's greener than you're seeing. It's like a beautiful aqua. Yeah, it's like a rich, beautiful aqua. Ugh, the lighting disasters continue, don't they? And it is by Leading Men Fiber Arts. So I live in Indianapolis. Leading Men Fiber Arts, they're in outside of Chicago. I want to say they're in Illinois, but maybe it's Clinton, and it's hand dyed. Um, Not on the hand dyed train anymore. I was buying a ton of hand dyed yarn, but I don't wear stuff usually that's like a typical hand dye. This is more like my speed, where it's like one color or like a tonal or something. This one is, I mean, it's hand dyed for sure, but it's not real noticeable. So I'm gonna make him an Oslo hat out of this, and see if he can regain knitworthy status, because the coat was put into the wash by the husband where the hat was in the pocket. So we wouldn't want to assume any blame here by saying that the person who puts the clothes in the wash ought to be checking the pockets. So he's on, he's dropped like down to, what's a great way of putting this? Potentially knitworthy, or maybe potentially unknitworthy, just because he felt it a hat. I know that that's harsh, but it is the way that we roll. So this is greener than you're seeing. I would even put it like more green than blue, but I might be wrong. It's just gorgeous. So I'm going to make him that. So as we were talking about things I'm going to be working on and intentionality, I have, kept a notebook now this year. I've decided I'm keeping notes. Now I have recorded this 3 or 4 times because I messed up repeatedly. So if I already talked about this, sorry. I am writing down the things that I want to make with intention for the year. I also wrote down things I wanted to do for myself, like a self-care routine. And that includes like, okay, y'all, so maybe a little too much information, and I'll talk about it more at the end, but I struggle with my nails. So part of my self-care is like just taking care of my nails more. So that I don't bite them, because I'm a nail biter. I know y'all are shocked. Because at this point, who doesn't have like anxiety that comes out in weird ways? So what I decided was to sit down and think about what I wanted to make this year, which I've never done. I just like knit whenever I felt like it and whatever I felt like. So I have made some overarching decisions about what I'm going to work on this year. And I had themes or whatever. Whereas like, what do I really want to focus on? Well, I have some goals for my knitting. One is to learn new techniques, right? So like when I pick something, it's generally to learn a new technique. That's just going to carry over here. But I wanted to focus on stashing down this year. There is it One Whip Wonder she has a podcast. I think she only had 1 episode so far. But her goal is like to basically not buy anything this year. I very clearly don't need more. And this keeps going a little ways. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these rows. I don't need to buy anymore, but if I buy something, it's going to be more likely in the sport to DK range now, as opposed to I was buying a lot of hand-dyed fingering weight, which is gorgeous yarn, and the skill that it takes to make that is incredible, but I don't wear it. And like, I don't, again, selfish knitter, like, why would I buy a whole bunch of stuff I don't wear? I won't wear what I'm using. So I got to use that up, right? But when I do buy, it'll be a LowBuy year. And I'm going to focus on buying more sweater quantities of stuff and not just like a one-off here or there, because that's not serving me really now that I'm knitting more garments. So I'm going to focus on that. So stashing down, buying less, and that'll be like, I'm allowed to buy yarn if I need it. I'm allowed to buy yarn at a fiber festival. But when I buy yarn, it can't be an impulsive, ooh, isn't that pretty? but it's got to be I have a project in mind. I need to get a sweater quantity for fill in the blank thing. And so then that's what I'm allowed to do. Those are my limits. I'm trying to think if I have any other caveats to my LowBuy. I don't think so. It just like I have so much yarn. So along with the LowBuy, the Stashdown aspect is huge. I want to use up my stash. So I have a lot of stash. And I need projects that are going to use a lot of the stuff I won't like make a garment out of or whatever. So I have particular like subsets of things I want to make, and so I'll go over that. But like I definitely want to use up some of the leftovers, like scrap stuff. So I keep my smaller scraps in like this jar, and then I have like a bigger jar for those skeins that I've used, like maybe 20 grams out of the 100 or whatever. It's like a really big glass jar. So I have a bunch of those too. They're like I've gone into them, but they're like a substantial. I could still make something out of them kind of situation. But this is my scraps, and then I have stuff I'm trying to like use up, like a lot. Oh, here's what I made my sweater that I'm wearing out of. This stuff, and yeah, it's got to be like some sort of, or maybe it's the Tweety, one of these. It's just not great for that. So I'm gonna come up with some stash busting scrap projects, and I will continue that for the next podcast because I haven't like fully gotten my mind around that aspect, but I know I want to focus on doing that. I also think I want to focus on knitting some projects for some of the charitable organizations around here. So that'll be another thing I'll go into later. Okay. So for my 2022 goals, I want to finish the things I'm working on. So I know I'm going to finish Ozetta's Winter's Pullover, and that half and half wrap might take me until the end of I don't even know, end of this year. I guess it's 2023. Today is January 5th. And I'm going to finish the couple of other garments I have on the needles that I talked about before, but haven't worked on in a little bit. And a shawl that I was test knitting that I failed at because it's lots of cables and I was in between vacations and it was very difficult. It's the Javelin shawl by Teti Lutsak from Teti's Knit Garden. She makes the most beautiful garments, but they are not actually things I likely will wear. So I've got like 3/4 of the way through it. I would love to finish it. It's gorgeous yarn that my husband gifted me. So I'll work on that. So the themes for this year, right? The Stashdown, the buy less. I would love to make a pair of Christmas stockings, not a pair. Christmas stockings for us. Maybe I can insert a picture of this Christmas stocking that my Nana made me when I was little. It is embroidered, I believe. It apparently took her like a year to make each of us one. I am not going to do that, but I would love to make a knitted stocking for each of us so we have some uniformity in our knitting, in our Christmas, stockings, because right now I'll put in another picture. It's an atrocity. what our all stockings look like. So that's another one. And then I'd like to sell some of my stash, and I'm not sure how to de-stash in the best possible way. So if anybody knows, please put it down below. I would love to hear what you guys do. Do you sell it on Etsy? Like the fiber de-stash sites, I'm not sure how that works. I've just never done it. So any suggestions are welcome. Okay, so getting into, so these are knitting goals. Yes, I have a notebook. Some habits die hard. Okay, what I want to knit. Where did I put it? There we go. Okay, I want to knit socks this year. I'm going to challenge myself to knit socks, mostly because I've hated knitting socks the twice I've made them. But I have, so again, with the hand-dyed, what else am I going to make with it? Like, I'm going to make some hand-dyed socks because I love socks and I love wool. So why shouldn't I make the socks now that I'm a better knitter than I was when I was trying before? So I'm going to try with this, oh God, this light is just an atrocity. I'm going to try, maybe this is better, using some of this Magpie stuff I have hanging around. It is Magpie Swanky Sock, so that's 80% merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. It is superwash, which I normally don't love, but it's going to be great for socks, so it's fine. I have huge feet, women's size 43, 12 really, and I am 6 feet tall, so that's about right. Otherwise, I'd probably fall over if I had like a size 7 or 8 foot. So this one is 400 yards, so I should be able to get even I should be able to get a pair of socks out of this, I think. So first pair of socks I'm going to cast on. I'm going to do it, and you can hold me to it. It's going to happen. I would also like to make a pair of the Lodge socks, also by Ozetta, I believe. And I would also like to make, oh God, I can't read my handwriting. Oh, this is the worst. Okay, my goal is 3 pairs of socks this year. We'll leave it at that. I'll pick which ones, but I can't read what I wrote because my handwriting is also terrible. Again. I would like to make 3 shawls this year as well. I do love shawls. I just never wear the ones I've made because I've used hand-dyed yarn for so much of them. My mother is very gift-worthy. Knit-worthy, sorry. And so she loves all the shawls I make, so I usually give them to her, but I would love to be able to keep some of the ones I'm making. So I'm going to make the Grow shawl, and I'm going to do that in one of the Nutiden colors that I have, which is like a muted gold. So I have that, but I'd like to make 3 total shawls. We'll see how that goes. I would like to make 1 blanket, and that might be the scrap busting one. It also could be the Purl Soho Prism blanket. They're having a knit along right now on that, and you don't have to buy anything. You can just sign up for the knit along, and they send you the pattern. It's just a PDF, free PDF. And I think if you sign up, you're like maybe gonna be in the drawing for some prizes or something. So that's an incentive, I guess, but it would be just fun to kind of use up some of my stash using the pattern because it's kind of a cool like square with triangles situation going on. I could just do it sort of in a chaotic way without having plans for colors, and I think I'd still love it. It would be really folky, and I do love a good folksy blanket. I would like to make some mittens. I don't have any. Oh, I take it back. I have 1 pair, and they're terrible. So I'm going to make some mittens. Don't hold me to this, but I would love to make thrummed mittens. I have this is my weaving. This is my weaving cabinet. A lot of roving. I can make thrum mittens. So I'm going to try. I'm also going to make some fingerless mittens and some Nutiden mittens with any leftover Nutiden. I have Nutiden up there. So that'll be good. I'm going to make 3 hats. One of which I'd love to make is the Nomad Hood by Suzanne Mueller. I'll put it here. Oh, here come the dogs. Hold, please. Hey, guys. Come here. Come on. Yeah. Sorry. They get excited. I can mute that out. So I'm going to make 3 hats, and so we already know the 2 Oslo hats that I have to make, plus this hood, which would be fun. I'm not sure if I'd use it, although I might. I used to go to the dog park, but Lester got attacked at the dog park, so we just don't go anymore because I don't trust anybody. It would be a great dog park hood. The hood would be also maybe good for, dog walking. Maybe I'll just do it when I walk the dogs. So I would love to make that. Sweaters. I have an insane goal of making 4 to 5 sweaters this year. I don't even know. I'm going to try, but part of finding joy is also allowing for the other side of things where you're just irritated and like sick of shit and don't want to do it anymore. But these are goals, and so I'm going to try. This is the first year I have any goals, so give me this, people. I'm going to try. So I would love to make the first sweater. I'm going to put a picture. God, I have no idea which way things are. by Hive Knits. She is lovely. She is, I think, also a resident, but I think, well, she's a resident. My husband's far past that now. And I think she's a GP, and she's in the UK. So she is awesome to watch. I really like her podcasts because she's real about sort of, like, oh, well, that didn't work. And my life is nothing if not just a comedy of errors. And so this will be that. This kind of podcast will be that. But I refuse to keep up an unattainable podcast like style of like everything being great. Also, refuse to do a podcast where like the goal is to finish everything all the time. I want to finish things, but I want to be intentional about that. My productivity will never be like, Lord help me. I wish I could knit, and I wish I found the joy in knitting that fast, but as fast as like Inga from Knitting Traditions, she just must power through. I'm so in awe of that. But that's not how I knit, and it's not how the knitting serves me. So for me, it's going to have to be a little bit different of a take on a podcast. It can't just be about like churning out these things. I will be honest about how they go. I will finish things because I do I love finishing things. But it's more about the process for me. So you'll get to see that too. The first sweater, anyway, by Hive Knits. I would recommend you watch her podcast. She's great. She put out that pattern and then the first Cardi, I think. But I really want to knit her first sweater. So that's on my list. The Big Cozy Cardi by Andrea Mowry is on my list, but I'm kind of getting tired of using the same designers. And Andrea Mowry's great. And her patterns are great and they explain things really well. And I really wanted to knit that, but I also am cognizant of wanting to learn new techniques and construction. And I think that some of the newer designers or folks who are less well known and only have a couple patterns out might be a better use of my time. But I'm not sure. So the Big Cozy Cardi I love the look of, but the idea of knitting that whole thing flat, it's going to take me forever. And Lord, y'all know how I hate purling. So I'm not sure if that one will happen. It's more of like oh, that's a beautiful design. Like so many of Andrea Mowry's patterns are. Also, would love to take a moment at the end to observe that Andrea Mowry is on a medical leave right now too from the rest of her work. Her podcast is continuing on, and I just shout out to her for taking a break because we all need a little bit more awareness of how we're doing and how we're feeling, and we all need to give some grace and space to somebody because that's brave. No matter what, it's just brave to say, hey y'all, I'm gonna take a hiatus. So anyway, I really admire that in her. So there are other sweaters I want to make, but I haven't decided on them yet either. This podcast has like fewer specifics in it than I thought I was going to give you, but it is sort of my attempt at setting a goal and an intention for the year, and I'm proud of myself for that. Also, I'm gonna start looking at Christmas around August so that I can knit those Christmas stockings in time. That's new for me as well because I don't think about anything until it's like I've fallen over it already when it comes to like knitting for a particular holiday. Who else is like that? Anybody? So, okay. Those are my plans for next year. And that's good enough for me. What do you guys think? I'm gonna have some tea. Working on this podcast setup is something new and different for me, so bear with me on the lighting. I am working towards this year. Maybe I'll grab my knitting here and we can just sit and knit for a bit. I am working towards making some weavings and some items to sell this year as part of a personal goal. I set up MidtownFiber as a company, and the goal of it is just to sort of build community in Indianapolis and to kind of allow myself a creative outlet and have a place that brings me joy, and that I can also maybe, you know, try out some new things and share with the community. And so I'll be working on some items for sale too, weaving wise, I think. We have some really great stores in Indianapolis, where you can do kind of like a consignment model. So I think I'll probably try that. One of my favorites is this place called Retro Metro. It's actually not far from where I live. And they've got a great conglomeration of awesome artists that kind of either rent out space or sell their goods in their store. Got a lot of great vintage stuff. I absolutely love that. So, yeah, that's one of my goals this year. See, I'm talking and trying to do one by one rib. That's gonna be a mess. Um, yeah. So, holiday season wise, holidays are hard for me. Been going through some therapy for PTSD and trauma, and so just learning more about where all that comes from has made this season harder than most for me. Also, I really struggle. I'm not sure how anybody else is with this. Like, the consumerism has just always been really difficult for me to take. The constant buy, 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 buy. And it's on Instagram too. I'm not sure, you guys. How do you feel? I mean, I get small businesses, and they need to sell stuff and they want to sell stuff. I'm just not sure that the bombardment, I guess, is where I really struggle, because it's like after Thanksgiving to Christmas, and then even after, like even now, I'm still getting like end of year or beginning of year sales and pushes, but I'd say it was probably worse there right after Thanksgiving into Christmas, and I just felt like I couldn't get the creative inspiration I get from Instagram without also kind of um, having a little bit of my joy taken away by the constant sales pitches. That's exhausting to me. But again, I understand why that's there. Um, I'm looking forward to not having that. So this holiday season was hard. I found being with family overwhelming this year. The house we're in is smaller than our previous home, so it's a great 1929 house. I absolutely love it. It's charming. It's got like cute what do you call it? Entryways, doorways where they're like shaped differently. Beautiful old millwork, gorgeous old fireplace and staircase, and oh god, I love it. But it's smaller, so it feels a little tight when people are here for an extended time. So I was really exhausted, and my husband wasn't home for some of the time that his family was here, so it was entertaining. That was a lot, I guess. They are wonderful, lovely people, and I'm always glad to see them. But 3 days is kind of a long time. And they were great because like they stay up in a hotel. It's not like I have, but it just feels like being on these days is hard, and this year especially. Um, so I did not see my mom. She had hip surgery, and I saw my sister and my mom over Thanksgiving. So um, it was just holiday stuff. And for um, those of you who aren't sort of aware that the holidays they can be complicated. You can still be joyful to see family and also feel exhausted to see family. I saw somebody I think it was a therapist meme or something, put something out saying like, you get all excited for the holidays and of seeing your family, and then maybe you're going to visit somebody and you get to the door and you realize why you were exhausted last year, and that nothing has changed, and that it's all going to be the same all over again, and then you just like all the air deflates out of you and then you relive the same cycle. I wouldn't say mine's like that. I mean, I guess I don't forget the exhaustion year to year, but I do love seeing my family, and I'm grateful I have one. And there are a lot of people who don't. I was reminded of this by I was going grocery shopping, and the cashier was asking me why I was buying all the food, and told her I was hosting, and she was telling me how she didn't have any family left, and it just, man, the holidays are a hard time. So, yeah, and my husband was gone a lot, and that was, kind of sad and hard for the kids. It is hard to be a family of healthcare workers when they're gone during the holidays, and I feel like a lot of people know about that, and a lot of people um, showed some gratitude towards the healthcare workers for a while there, but I feel like they've been forgotten again, which is really depressing. Um, so yeah, I worked hard on keeping the sanity over the holidays, and I would love to do some podcasting on sort of mental health stresses that we all face, and um, how crafting and fiber can help us through them, or how they've helped me anyway. Um, but having, just for example, like putting things together in a journal, which is not, I've never been like a journal person. I was a very well organized planner that ran a state system for public health, and I did that very well. Um, when it came to my career, I was all over it, but personally, it's a totally different story. So, having knitting actually, I think, helped me this year in particular, because I was able to observe how much I've improved in mental health by having knitting give me an impetus to sit down and plan something, and to write something out, and to have some goals. And for me, knitting maybe is more than a hobby, it's sort of a lifeline. Um, Not to say that I'm like in need of a lifeline, but it's just something I can always count on for those times when I feel unmoored. I don't know if anybody ever feels like that. I do have depression and anxiety, but a lot of mine came from the pandemic, and sort of working in public health in Indiana, um, in a time when people were, and still are, pretty disappointing um, in their care for their communities. So I knitting has been everything during that time, and I think I've created another community around that, and one that I'd frankly rather be in most days than the public health one. I left my job in epidemiology, and it sort of went all over national news and everything. So it was very uncomfortable for me, because I don't know if you guys know this much. It might be all be too much information, so apologies if it is. Um, but epidemiologists don't tend to be people who are like the spokespeople or the faces of anything. We tend to be behind the scenes, sort of like, if we were in the theater, we'd be like the people doing the stage work that like make everything happen, but we're not out there like the actors putting it all on display. I don't know if that's the best example or best way of saying it, but we tend to be behind the scenes. So that made me like super really uncomfortable and anxious. so so now, I mean, I feel like I've had enough time that's passed that I really I've been thinking towards the future more, thinking about what I want to do. I would love to open a knit store in Indianapolis that focused on sort of mental health, and the intersection of mental health and fiber art. That would be like the best. But I think for my own mental health right now is not the time. I think it needs to be, I need a little bit more time to process some things. But that is the goal. And I feel like that's accepting that, your career is over and that you're moving on with life. It used to feel like it was giving up or something. And now it feels like just closure. I don't know. Do you guys ever feel that way? I don't know how many of you have kind of struggled with this, or And even if it's not this, it's something, moving on from anything can be really hard, especially if you've dedicated your life to it and, it ends in like a ball of fire, which is what happened for me. Um, yeah, it's been a journey, but I'm loving the podcast community. I'm loving talking with you guys and learning about your fiber art, and would love for this to be that sort of a space where you feel comfortable sharing um, what's going on with you. So yeah, I'll probably put some of my adventures up here at the end, some video outtakes. I'm still figuring out how all this Wondershare is Filmora is what I bought for video editing, so I'm figuring all that out. Thanks for your patience. But yeah, I think sanity is really important, and some folks are more or less aware of their um, mental state on a daily basis. I think I'm just more aware every day, so I find this incredibly healing to have always at my fingertips. Um, with potential, just like the new year, right? There's always potential in every new knitting project for creativity and inspiration, and you can change things as you see fit, as your skill allows. And I don't know, I'm just grateful. This new year is going to be, even if it's not amazing and awesome. I don't set New Year's resolutions, by the way, because I just find that I've never been that person. Um, but I think the new year, when filled with intention, is full of possibility, and that can't be wrong. So I hope all of your New Year's are feeling that way too, and that you're getting some time for yourself to stitch in whatever way you see fit, or to spin, or to weave, to knit, um, and that you can feel some peace, because we all need that. Thanks for joining. And again, hope to see you here next time. And I will be putting some more work into those details that I didn't have today. And hopefully I'll be done with one or two by the next time I film. I'm trying to do them every 2 weeks or so. But I also would like to do some self-care podcast where it's focused just on how mental health, and how people are doing, and maybe some interesting, fun ways to connect, and it's not just focused on the production of garments or whatever. So yeah, thanks for joining, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.